Welcome back. I'm back. MTG Joe here. We have been away the last couple weeks in part because I've been doing home renos and stuff was breaking and I've been troubleshooting stuff. But setup is back in place and we can return to our weekly meta breakdowns. So for those of you who are new to this, what we do is each week we look at each MTG arena format, both best of 1 and best of 3. We do these as separate videos that drop throughout the week. And we look at the top performing ladder decks, ranked decks. If you want to get to mythic, these are the decks folks are playing. And we have stats to back it up. We're not just saying 100% win rate, deck cracked in half. We're using UntapGG, which is a companion tool that runs alongside your arena client, tracks your win rates, loss rates, syncs your collection, and then aggregates the data into what we see on the screen. And we'll go into more detail that shows the best winningest decks of the week. So this particular video will be for the Explore Best of 1 format. I got standard Best of 1 up for this week. Next week we'll return to doing standard Explore Historic, Best of 1 and Best of 3. We'll get that back into the normal schedule. I'm just trying to get caught up a bit on the format. So we are looking, in this case here, I'm actually going to be doing a catch-up episode. So this is June 9th to the 24th. Normally we do about 7-day span, Platinum to Mythic, 110,000 games of Best of 1 Explorer played, kind of jumping in. So as always, if you are interested in leveraging Untapped, it's free to use. Most of the functionality, the link is in the video description. I'll paste all these deck lists in the video description as well if you just want to copy paste, but it's really easy if you have an Untapped installed. You just copy to MTGA and then you paste it into your actual arena client. And then as always, if you do enjoy this type of content, greatly appreciate it if you can. Drop a comment, a like on the video. They're both free and help out the channel. And if you enjoy this type of stuff, like I said, we go updates each week, multiple formats. If you subscribe, it lets you know when we go live with the latest video. So jumping into it, like I said, about a 2.5 week span. Number 1 deck is Mono Red Aggro with a 70% win rate. And I'm not going to lie, I don't know how this deck consistently beats Greasebang in Best of 1, or Angels for that matter. But this version is an Anax Hardened of the Forge deck that's leveraging Torbran and Embercleave to pump out large chunks of damage. You'll notice here with Untapped, like it's saying 2 to 3, so I'm missing 1 rare wildcard. So this was mentioning with the collection tracking. I can build this version of the deck, but I'm missing 1 rare. So I've played a lot of Mono Red throughout Historic, as well as Alchemy and Standard and Explore. So I actually have my version of Mono Red as well, which I have a 71% win rate with. So I just built mine, and it's very just meta dependent. So there's a lot of overlap with the decks, but I'm playing Lightning Strikes, and I'm playing Rampaging Ferocidons, just trimming on Torbrans and Embercleaves to have more interaction with the field. I'm also going Fervent Champion over the Fanatical Firebrand. So there's pros and cons to each of these drops. They're not the perfect one drop in any case. Firebrand was really good against the Winota meta because you wanted to pick off the line of War Elves, you want to pick off the small things. If we look at Angels, they don't really have many X1s in the Greasebang matchup. They do have X1s, but generally speaking, you want to attack into those creatures, and the first strike allows you to do so. With Fanatical Firebrand, you're still trading, so you're still 1-for-1ing, and their creatures typically have like ETB style effects, so they're already getting value out of those creatures. The Fervent Champions obviously pair well with additional copies, but just first strike and like Stomp or Lightning Strike lets you trade up in combat as well. Kari Zev, I usually like 2 of. 3 is, it's on its own without Burning-Tree. It's not the greatest 2-drop on its own. And then multiple copies because they are legendary. Similarly with Torbran and Embercleave, not the best in that respect. Chainwhirler, again, very much akin to the similarities that you have with the Fanatical Firebrand. It does help with the Anax Mono Red mirrors, but I feel like oftentimes the Ferocidon pulls more weight just in terms of incidental damage. It can shut off the life gain of like Cat Oven decks, Angels, little ping damage here and there. Shuts off the Gruul Transmogrify, the Titan, can't gain the 5 life. So there's a lot of instances where I like Ferocidon better. So I'll kind of place both lists. You can see my win rate, 4-1 against Gruul, 3-0 against, sorry, 4-0, 4-1 against the Mardu Greasebang, 3-0 against the Esper Greasebang. Really like mono red. I'm a little bit weaker into the mirror, admittedly, but with lightning strikes, it has helped that matchup kind of play out. So you can see all my versions, everything that I've tried out. This is the one I got pretty high into mythic with, playing out that deck. So we have like that for mono red. Up next is Seleznia Angels, and this is kind of why I was alluding to liking the Ferocidons. This deck just could outgain you in terms of life gain. So you use like Giada. Sorry, this was a 69% win rate deck. Nice. So Bishop of Wings gains you life when Angels enter the battlefield. Resplendent Angel, very much similar. Giada pumps up the team. It's a collected company shell. Your only non-angel is, of course, Skyclave Apparition, which is used to ideally hit those Ferocidons on the other side of the table. And then it's got a Legion Angel package as well, just so for some more virtual card advantage. Some of the lists will play the Elspeth 5 in there. I was like largely unimpressed with this card, but I think as a 2-of, it's probably fine. Angel Vitality might be a little too cute. I've also seen some lists run Heliod, but I think generally speaking, like the 1-drop that also gains you life, the Soul Warden akin one with Disturbed is also a consideration to play in these types of shells. Then we have Mono Blue Spirits. So this is a deck I actually haven't played a lot, as you can see, missing 8 of the rare wild cards. But this is a tempo style strategy. So what you're trying to do is get out a dork and then play at like instant speed, protect that dork with stuff like Slip Out the Back, Spell Pierce. You have the protection of Rattle Chains, some counter spells as well mixed into there. What you ideally want to do is put a Curious Obsession on that creature and then just keep drawing cards, fueling your hand. And really, you want to like tap down your opponent's creatures with Shacklegeist, protect your creatures. This also allows you with Rattle Chains to flash in other spirits. So you can flash in like Lord style effects. You could hold up your mana at end turn if they don't do anything. Spectral Sailor draws you cards, or your Ascended Spirit gets real buff. Faceless Haven is a spirit. So it all kind of plays into that shell there. So if you like kind of the flash tempo style decks, this is something to consider. Up next, the Boogeyman of Best of One, Mardu Greasebang. So this is a deck that you need to be prepared for in Best of One. It's one of the more consistent decks and can kill you, or basically put the game out of reach by turn 3. Technically turn 2 on the earliest, but more often than not turn 3. So what you're trying to do with this deck is put cards into your graveyard, and in particular you want to put Parhelion 2, the sequel. Basically, you throw this vehicle into the graveyard, you play out Greasebang, ideally on turn 3. It returns the Parhelion to the battlefield. You crew it with Greasebang. Parhelion gets haste. You attack for 13. You get left with 2 4/4 Vigilant Angels. You kind of win the game that way. You also have the backup plan, like a mid-rangey plan of like Fable the Mirror Breaker to copy like your smaller creatures. Bloodtithe Harvester can be recurable removal. You got a Croxa in there. You got card advantage with stuff like Deadly Dispute. Lots of treasure or blood tokens to kind of fuel your looting abilities as well. So it kind of plays all into that strategy. So it's like a combo mid-range deck. Then you have Rakdos mid-range. This is kind of the Jund adjacent deck of like Modern, just objectively good cards, bunch 2-for-1s. You have stuff, again, like the core Fable, Bloodtithe Harvester, Fatal Push, Thoughtseize, a Braid, just all removal. Braid hitting both Greasebang and the Parhelion, just a bunch of different threats there. Bonecrusher, Graveyard Trespasser is just good, efficient threats. 4 of Chandra, 1 Sorin, and this one version is going up to Glorybringer. You could potentially live the dream of every turn copying a Glorybringer and exerting it to get that max value. And then you're just playing like creature lands. Probably more often than not, you'll probably like just win through creature lands. There's so many like trade cards here that you end up just, you and your opponent run out of resources, and then your like Hive just kind of kills them that way. Then we have Esper Greasebang or Esper Shredder. This is the more mid-range focused version of the Esper deck. So there was a all-in combo version. That one was very susceptible, especially very poor into control, because you just have to control that one element. Where like the Mardu version allowed you to attack on different axes. So this version here, you're still doing the same combo with Greasebang and Parhelion, but you're using cards like Ledger Shredder to fuel your graveyard, Faithful Mending, Chart of Course. You have Rafine, Scheming Seer as a way to draw cards and bin stuff. You have Malvin Hermit as protection. So there's a lot of kind of utility in that respect there. So if you like Esper colors more than Mardu, you can give this one a shot. The Mardu version's edging it out slightly by about 4% win rate. We have Abzan Hubins. So this is an interesting list. It's basically a mono white collected company, splash green, splash black. And you're able to do so with Unclaimed Territory and Secluded Courtyard, which are basically the Cavern of Souls, if you may, without the ability of Cavern of Souls. And what you're trying to do is leverage a Werewolf Pack Leader, which happens to be a human. Gets you some card draw. Kudro lets you attack your opponent's graveyard and is a could technically be removal as well with the sacrifice ability, and also as a lord. And then you're really playing with the bonus of Thalia's Lieutenant. So Thalia's Lieutenant puts a 1/1 counter on each creature you control that's a human, so basically your entire squad. And then whenever another human enters the battlefield, Thalia's Lieutenant gets larger as well. So you kind of get to use this synergy with stuff like Charming Prince, that gets to blink your Thalia's Lieutenant to reset it to get extra value. You're also playing 4 Extraction Specialists, which lets you get back your Thalia's Lieutenant from the graveyard, or you can like Extraction Specialist, blink it with, like, get a Charming Prince, blink it, get Extraction Specialist back, get another creature from your graveyard. So there's kind of a lot of embedded synergy with the deck that way. Adeline's tokens that get created also trigger Thalia's Lieutenant, so kind of cool innovation with that. Azorius Control. Let's slow things down. This is a 58% win rate, so this is a non-Yorion version of blue-white control. So notably what we're looking at with these types of control decks is what are their win cons, what are their main points of interaction and their main axes. So this version here, it's playing 7 pieces of spot removal in the sense of March of the Otherworldly Light, Fateful Absence, so good early game action. March is a little particular at times. It's either really, really good or a little awkward when you're facing down like an Anax and you wish it was a Fateful Absence. 4 Depopulate. So there's like Shadow the Sky or Depopulate. It's beer, like damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. But you also have like Settle the Wreckage in here, and then Wandering Emperor that can also serve as removal. You also have Farewell in here too, so just tons of removal. You're predominantly going to win through Teferi Ultimate, a Hardcast Typhoon, or just a Cycle Typhoon. Or if you could, one of your Emperors get out of control. And then there's probably castles. Yeah, there's some castles in here. Or sorry, halls, not castles. Is there a castle? Yeah, there's a castle. I was right. I wasn't lying. So a couple different win conditions. So if you like to bore your opponent to death and just say no repeatedly, opponent tries something, you just say, how about no? No, no, no. This is the deck for you. Then we have Gruul Transmogrify. This deck is fun. So this is a, as early as turn 3, get a Titan of Industry into play. And the way you do that is either Courier's Briefcase on 2, or at your end step, your opponent's end step of turn 2, you Careful Cultivation Channel, you get a Dork. Both of these instances give you 4 mana and a token on turn 3. Then you cast Transmogrify, and then that gets you to copy a Titan of Industry, as that's the only creature in your deck. You also have Luca, which can also transmog stuff. You have Fable the Mirror Breaker that makes tokens. You have Burn Down the House that makes tokens. Chariot that makes tokens. Your Chariots could crew and make copies of the Rhinos. So it's a very Titan-y surprise kind of deck. It's actually really fun. I was enjoying this. It kind of beats up on Mono Red too. I was playing like 4 Fire Prophecies in mine just to kind of cycle. I wasn't on the Chandra, but Burn Down the House is a nice addition. Sometimes you just win with like a fair plan of Eska's Chariot on turn 3. Some decks just aren't equipped to deal with that. But it's a cool deck if you like kind of cheating creatures into play. I find the Titan of Industry, so there's like the Agent of Treachery decks that try to do similar things. Agent are better against like these slower style mid-range decks, but as we see, like Mono Red Aggro, Mono Blue Spirit, Selesnya Angels, there's a lot of lower to the ground aggressive. So if you're cheating an Agent of Treachery and you're stealing like a Robber of the Rich, you're not really doing much. It's also really poor if your opponent goes wide or if you're just behind in the game. Where Titan gains you life, blows up stuff, gives you big things. It just plays really well into a bunch of avenues. And this Rakdos list is actually a more recent one. I wanted to share it from June 17th. It's a Rakdos sack. This probably, if I had to guess just from the how it's configured, is probably inspired by Ash Lizzle. It is a Claim the Firstborn sack, so it's not a food-based version. There's a cat oven synergies. But you have Chandra that makes tokens that get sacked. You have your Mayhem Devils. I can probably tell if this is not... No, 22 lines is probably too many for an Ash Lizzle deck. I've seen her go down to 17, but you get... there's a lot of cheap creatures which we see in the format. You can steal their mono blue spirit creature that has the Obsession, their Angels, their mono... their Anax, sack it for your own value. Unlucky Witness is also card draw. Deadly Dispute, you got Priest, so a lot of kind of cool synergies there. So if you want to play a sacrifice themed deck that's not necessarily food, this is another option. As always, I kind of show my profile. It's always available if you want to see what I'm playing. It's not much the last week or so, just given house renos, but peaked at 49 Mythic this month. You can see all my breakdown across all the matchups. I've actually been doing a lot of events. I've really enjoyed the event structure. It's less stressful than the ladder. But in Alchemy, I'm 49 and 10 with an Esper build. You can see all kind of that. With Cube coming up, you can also see your Cube runs. If you go limited, you can see how you do. I did not do well. An Alchemy draft, I did okay. But the regular draft format, I didn't do well this time. I couldn't figure this one out, but you can see all your draft decks as well, everything like that. And like I said, you can download Untapped and get going for free. In any case, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one, and make sure to subscribe. Help build the channel. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Bye.